What did the person do/say that made you go, what the fuck is wrong with you? Story 1. She dated a guy who was in a relationship at the time, and I found out when she used my phone to message him. She was grounded for God knows what at the time. I discovered this because she left the messages open despite my specific request to close it before leaving my phone. I guess she assumed the teachers calling her wouldn't take that long, and I wouldn't use my phone. I unlocked my phone, and right away, I saw messages from Nathan, who was Christine's boyfriend at the time. After some debate with Ashley about getting involved due to the girl Danielle's reputation, I gave the phone to Christine because if anyone should tell her, it should be the person who found it. When Danielle returned to the room, the whole class knew, and she walked out. However, the next day, she cried about how Christine ruined her friendship with everyone, blaming Christine rather than acknowledging her involvement with a man in a relationship. Unfortunately, it didn't end there. Over the next few months, she continued to blame others and even tried to get violent with some people. This led to a falling out between her and her best friend since grade school, who didn't want to tolerate it anymore. Danielle proceeded to call her ex-friend Sarah a dog and used offensive language. Danielle is white, and this wasn't unusual for her. For the next few months, she was bitter and depressed until a new guy at school arrived, and she pursued him despite the fact that Danielle is 15 and Michael, the new guy, is 18. Michael distanced himself due to accusations, but apparently, blocking her was too much. Being the only other adult at the school and female, I became prime grounds for dating. Michael made some moves, and, being naive, we were dating in about 5 days after exchanging numbers. The first few hours were normal, but then it took a turn. The first night, he expressed his eagerness for intimacy, sharing his inappropriate desires. When I expressed discomfort, it became an issue. A few days later, he sent me an unwanted picture. I told him I was uncomfortable again, and the situation escalated. He started texting Danielle inappropriate things, and she showed me the messages. Danielle continued harassing both of us while we were dating. One day, she assaulted me, leading to a call to the cops and a visit to the ER. Despite her attack, everything was fine physically. Tired of the drama, I finally ended the relationship, but it wasn't over. Michael changed my whole friend dynamic, leaving me alone aside from Nathan and a few others who distanced themselves from the drama long ago. One day, waiting outside for class to begin, Michael had the nerve to say out loud, "Yeah, I never even liked her, all she did was use me." I questioned him, asking what I used him for, especially considering he laughed and smiled when his friend assaulted me, and I didn't even ask for a ride to the hospital. This is just part of the story, but I think it's long enough. Story 2. When my dad was in the ICU, he was officially transferred to hospice as there were only days, maybe just hours, left. Surprisingly, he received no medical care, including medication, for almost 10 hours. It seems that once a patient has passed, the hospital turns on a specific light, I believe it was purple, to indicate that the patient is dead but still occupying the room. This is generally for the grieving family. Despite our efforts to get attention, nothing changed. Then, a nurse walked in and casually said, "Oh, is he alive?" We thought he was dead. The callousness of the comment was just so casually cruel. Story 3. I used to work in a casino, and our team lead was an absolute jerk. He was super judgmental, generally unfriendly, and very dismissive. It was clear he didn't like me or a new guy, or anyone, really, but we got the brunt of it. He would verbally berate us for not knowing things he never trained us to do. One morning, after following gaming control board policy regarding a $2 bill stuck in a machine, he threw a fit. He hollered at me, calling me the R slur, and more. Naturally, I went to HR and ended up talking to my supervisor about it. They were amazed he'd behave that way and couldn't believe it when I said he treats me and the new guy like that all the time. 2 weeks later, he got the Employee of the Month. I remember my supervisor calling me in and saying, "Now, Scott, it's not that we didn't." I just told him, "You people are unbelievable," and walked away. Sheldon looking ass mostly left me alone after that, but Fuak was glad when I got out. Story 4. My ex, who struggled with alcoholism, didn't share a close bond with his family members, especially his mom, despite living together. During my time living with him and his family, I developed a close relationship with his mom, possibly because she didn't have a daughter. However, it felt more like a roommate situation than a familial connection. One day, his mom was in a severe car accident, and my ex was listed as her emergency contact. He was at work, so he asked me to go. I hesitated, explaining that I wasn't immediate family and might not be allowed to see her. Despite not fully understanding the dynamics of their relationship, I tried to persuade him, emphasizing, "You should really see her, you never know what could happen." He just sighed and replied, "I know exactly what will happen, I'll get the house, and my brothers will get her money." I responded, "That's not what I meant, but seriously, what the heck is wrong with you?" While it's normal for parents to sometimes be frustrating, if they needed me, I'd be there without hesitation. Seeing how easily he brushed off his mother in her time of need made me realize he could do the same to me sooner or later. Story 5. I could write like 10,000 stories here. At my second job, they introduced investors, and with it, a new CEO came along while the, still majority, owner of the company got more into sales as this was his vibe. He started interviewing the employees and had a special interest in the female ones, asking them about their private life, marital status, and at one point even preference. The owner could not do anything as no one complained officially. Some weeks in, his fiancée died in an accident somewhere in South America. He did not play it cool, he just was. And his main concern was that he has so much to do in his new job, and now he even has to wash his own clothes. General sexism happened for some time. Eventually, I left the company, and as we were a small company and I've been there for quite a while, we had a little party for my farewell. We also went to a club, and after some hours, my then GF, now wife, came along. At some point, we even kissed, nothing big, just a kiss, which triggered him to come over and tell her now me. There were a lot of what the heck is wrong with you-s along the way. After I left the company, I met with the owner and gave him a complete overview of what had happened in the company, and at the party, lately. He still insisted that he needed a statement from someone affected to take measures. I told my former, female, colleagues. I left, life happened. I just know he's not part of that company anymore. Story 6. I was at a house party at someone's parents' place in my hometown, in my early 20s. I faintly knew a guy, a couple of years older. Let's call him Bill. He was good-looking and a Casanova type of guy, sometimes bragging about it. He also had a nice, friendly way about him, a charming and funny guy. Later in the night, we were outside the house on the street, smoking some pot. I had rolled a joint, passing it around with my guys, and Bill came along asking for a puff. Since I was low on weed, I said something like, "Yeah, but chill and wait a moment, please, there are some other guys, but you'll get your fix." When it was his turn, he took the joint, took a very deep Vietnam kind of style puff, smiled at me, and looking directly into my eyes, snapped it away into the bushes nearby. I was like, "What the heck, man," and almost had a physical argument with Bill, who was provocative like, "Yeah, you want some, dude?" At that moment, I realized there was something deeply wrong with the guy. And let go. Also, I figuratively shat my pants a little. Story 7. I was working in fast food and found out that one of my coworkers was pregnant. She was treated well for the most part, but there was one manager who couldn't understand why she had gone ahead and actively chosen to get pregnant while working there. This manager once saw a ref used to pick up a big box, the girl was about 5 months in by that point, and snapped at her, saying, "Oh come on. We all know you only got pregnant so you didn't have to work. Being pregnant is not an excuse to stop working." The girl went on maternity leave early not long after that. This manager still works there, as far as I'm aware, and she's still one of the most hated people there. Story 8. A local real estate agent was caught masturbating on a security camera. All well and good, except it was in a client's house during an open house, on their couch, in their living room. To make matters worse, he then sent legal letters to people who discussed it, threatening them with legal action. People have seen the video, and it indeed happened. Story 9. Trying to maintain a civil relationship with my ex during our separation and divorce exposed me to a lot of insights, but one gem surfaced during an argument. Me, you've been abusing me. Sexually, emotionally, financially. You are abusive. You acknowledge that, right? Him, yup. Me, then why won't you go to therapy? You're going to do the same with the kids when they start coming into their own personalities. Him, no I won't. Me, you treat me this way, what's stopping you from doing it to them? Him, they're my kids, and you're you. Me, so you know you've been abusing me this whole time, and even now, and you don't think there's an issue with that because it's happening to me? Him, see, you're smarter than you look. I gave everything to that man. Gave up guaranteed wealth, a mile and career, etc. for him because he tricked me with a solid year of change. As soon as we married, his mask started to slip, but by the time I realized he hadn't changed, I was pregnant. Left him in 2021 and never looked back. Story 10. Meeting my future mother-in-law for the first time at my wife's house in Leeds, England, was an interesting experience. She knocked on the door, and in an effort to make a good impression, I answered and switched to full polite host mode. I greeted her, brought her bags in, and, above all, offered to make her a brew, tea. She looked at me for a second and then asked, "Where are you from?" I responded that I'm from Manchester. Her reply, "Oh, a foreigner?" I laughed initially until I realized she was serious. As a blonde white guy, apparently, Manchester is considered too south. That turned out to be my first and last encounter with her. Story 11. Had a birthday party for my daughter at a bowling alley. When we finished and were returning the shoes, I ran into a guy I knew that worked at a local church. He was there with his 2 biological sons and his newly adopted son. We were talking while his children played, and the adopted son decided to climb up one of the stools/chairs that was a couple of feet high and could reach the tables overlooking the bowling. This guy notices and immediately jokes, "How'd he get up there? Oh yeah, he's black." Not sure there's ever been a moment in my life where I was more speechless and one where I wished I would have knocked another person out more. I was so caught off guard I didn't respond, but you could tell he makes those jokes a lot to other people by how comfortable he was and how impulsive it was. Thanks for watching.